Commander Taeyang Park stood on the bridge of the Eternal Sentinel, watching the stars drift past in silence. His ship was humanity's flagship, though most aliens who saw it thought it looked rather plain. That was exactly what humans wanted them to think. For 200 years, humanity had played a careful game with the galaxy, showing only what they needed to see and nothing more. Ambassador Hana Kim sat in the Galactic Council chamber, listening to another species complain about trade routes. She wore her diplomatic smile, the one she had perfected over decades of service. Around her, representatives from hundreds of alien civilizations debated and argued. Most of them barely looked at her. Humans were considered minor players in galactic politics. They were polite, peaceful, and far too weak to matter in the grand scheme of things that suited Hannah just fine. She remembered the instructions given to every human diplomat: let them underestimate us. It keeps everyone safe, back on Earth. Admiral Minho Lee reviewed reports in his office. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, the screens around him showed the truth that the galaxy never saw. Humanity's real military strength was hidden across thousands of star systems. Ships disguised as cargo haulers. Stations that looked like research facilities. Weapons that could reshape reality itself, all kept carefully locked away. Minho had commanded Earth's United Defense Fleet for 30 years, and in all that time, he had never needed to show what humanity could really do. Dr. Sumin Choi worked in her laboratory on Europa, studying alien cultures and biology. Her official job was to help humans understand their galactic neighbors. Her real job was much more important. She tracked threats, analyzed military capabilities, and helped ensure that humanity stayed 3 steps ahead of everyone else. Sumin had files on every major species in the galaxy. She knew their weaknesses, their fears, and their military doctrine. None of them knew she existed. The peace had lasted for 2 centuries because humanity made a choice. After nearly destroying themselves in the resource wars of the 21st century, humans learned a terrible lesson about unchecked aggression. When they finally reached the stars and found other civilizations, they decided to be different. They would be protectors, not conquerors. Guardians, not warriors. But protection required strength, so humanity built weapons beyond imagination and then hid them away, the galaxy thought. Earth's military consisted of 50 ships. The truth was closer to 50,000. The galaxy believed human weapons were simple railguns and missiles. They had never seen the probability disruptors or quantum cannons. Every major human colony had defensive systems that could destroy entire fleets, but they were camouflaged to look like civilian infrastructure. Humanity had turned deception into an art form, all in the service of peace. Then the Varkan Empire made a fatal mistake. The news reached Admiral Minho first. A human colony ship called the New Dawn had been traveling to establish a settlement in the Outer Rim. It carried 50,000 civilians, including 15,000 children. The Varkan Empire had been expanding aggressively for years, claiming systems they had no right to. When the New Dawn entered a system the Varkans wanted, they didn't issue a warning. They just opened fire. The colony ship had no chance. It was destroyed in minutes. 50,000 lives ended in fire and vacuum. Minho sat in silence after reading the report. His hands trembled with rage that he forced himself to control. He had grandchildren among the dead. But he was a soldier, and soldiers followed orders. He waited for the government to decide humanity's response. Ambassador Hana presented Earth's case to the Galactic Council 3 days later. She stood before the assembly and described what had happened. She showed images of the destroyed ship. She read the names of the dead, all 50,000 of them. It took her 6 hours. When she finished, she made a simple request: justice. The Varkan Empire should face consequences for murdering civilians. The council debated for 2 days. Then they issued their decision. The destruction of the New Dawn was ruled an unfortunate accident. The Varkans claimed they thought it was a military vessel. The council accepted this explanation, despite all evidence to the contrary. No punishment would be issued. The matter was closed. Hannah returned to Earth and delivered the news to the government. She had expected this outcome but hoped she would be wrong. 1 week later, the Varkan Empire made their next move. They sent a message to Earth, demanding that humanity surrender 10 of their colony worlds as reparations for trespassing in Varkan space. They gave Earth 30 days to comply or face military action. The human government held an emergency session. Every representative from every nation on Earth gathered to vote on their response. The debate lasted less than an hour. The vote was unanimous. Earth would not surrender. Admiral Minho sent the response personally. It was short and direct. We decline your demands. The Varkan Empire brought the matter before the Galactic Council, claiming humanity was being aggressive and unreasonable. They painted Earth as a dangerous upstart that needed to be taught a lesson. Other species, seeing an opportunity to put humans in their place, agreed. The Council voted to authorize corrective military action against humanity. The declaration of war came on a Tuesday morning, Earth Standard Time. Commander Taeyang received the news while his ship was on patrol near the Mars orbital shipyards. He read the message twice, making sure he understood correctly. The entire Galactic Council was declaring war on humanity. They demanded Earth's unconditional surrender within 30 days. Taeyang immediately contacted Admiral Minho. Sir, I'm reading this declaration. Please tell me it's some kind of mistake. Minho's face on the screen looked tired. No mistake, Commander. They really think they can bully us into submission. Do they have any idea what they're doing? No, they think we're weak. We've spent 200 years making sure they think that. Ambassador Hana was given one last chance to address the Council before hostilities began. She stood before the assembled representatives and spoke clearly. You are making a grave mistake. We have been kind to you. We have been patient with you. We have been peaceful with you. Do not force us to be otherwise. Please reconsider this decision. The Council members laughed. Several made jokes about human cowardice. The Varkan representative stood and declared that humanity had 30 days to surrender all military assets and submit to Council authority. Otherwise, they would face the combined might of galactic civilization. Hannah looked at each council member in turn. She wanted to remember their faces. Then she delivered humanity's final warning. We tried to teach you through example that strength doesn't require violence. You refused to learn. What happens next is your choice, not ours. She walked out of the chamber to the sound of alien laughter, back on Earth. Admiral Minho sat in the command center with his senior staff. Dr. Sumin was there, along with every branch commander of the United Defense Fleet. Minho looked at each of them and asked the question that would define humanity's future. Do we show them who we really are? The vote was unanimous. Minho entered his command codes and spoke 2 words that humanity had hoped never to say: protocol revelation. Across human space, everything changed. Cargo ships transformed, revealing weapons that had been hidden for centuries. Research stations activated defensive systems that could crack planets. Colony worlds lit up with military installations that had been camouflaged as cities. In the darkness between stars, the Ghost Fleet emerged from hiding. 50,000 warships that the galaxy never knew existed. Commander Taeyang watched his own ship transform. Panels shifted, revealing weapons arrays that had been concealed since the day the Eternal Sentinel was built. The engines that aliens thought were standard civilian drives revealed their true power. Capable of speeds that would terrify anyone who saw them, on every human vessel, the same message appeared: 200 years of mercy ends today. Show them why we chose peace. The galaxy had declared war on humanity, thinking they were attacking the weak. They were about to discover they had awakened something far more dangerous than any warrior race. They had forced the protectors to become soldiers again, and humanity had spent 2 centuries preparing for this exact moment, hoping it would never come. The 30-day countdown began. The galaxy waited for Earth's surrender. Humanity prepared for war. Colonel Jiwan Nam had been waiting in dark space for 17 years. Her fleet of 3,000 ships sat in the void between star systems, running silent and invisible. The Ghost Fleet was humanity's greatest secret, ships so advanced that no alien sensor could detect them. G1 had volunteers who signed up knowing they might spend their entire careers hidden in the darkness, never firing a shot. They all understood the mission: be ready for the day humanity needed them. That day had finally come. G1 received the activation codes and felt a mix of relief and sadness. Relief that her long wait had purpose. Sadness that humanity's peaceful era was ending. She addressed her fleet over secure channels. This is what we train for. Remember your oaths. We protect humanity, but we don't become monsters. Disable their ships, don't destroy them. Scatter their fleets, don't slaughter them. We show them our strength, not our cruelty. 3,000 captains acknowledged her orders. The Ghost Fleet began moving toward Varkan space. On Earth, engineer Dae-Yun Shin worked frantically in the military research facilities beneath Seoul for 20 years. He had designed weapons that humanity prayed they would never build. Now, the government was asking him to authorize production of everything he had ever created. Reality displacement bombs, causality missiles that hit targets before they were fired, shields that existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously. The arsenal of a species that had learned from their own capacity for destruction and vowed to do better. Dae-Yun looked at the production authorization forms. Each weapon represented a line humanity had refused to cross for 2 centuries. He thought about the 50,000 dead on the New Dawn. He thought about his daughter, who had wanted to be on that colony ship but stayed home to finish school. He signed every authorization and felt something inside him break and harden at the same time. Captain Yuna-Oh led humanity's special forces, soldiers trained for operations that officially didn't exist. Her teams had spent decades infiltrating alien governments, corporations, and military organizations. No one knew humans could move like she could, fight like she could, or disappear like she could. Yuna had stolen technology from 16 different species, prevented 4 assassination attempts on human diplomats, and stopped 2 alien terrorist organizations from attacking Earth. The galaxy thought humans were clumsy and slow. Yuna proved every day how wrong they were. Now she received new orders. Prepare for deep penetration strikes on strategic targets across the galaxy. Yuna gathered her teams and began planning. They would need to move fast once the war started. General Haijin Kong commanded Earth's Strategic Defense Initiative from a facility that didn't appear on any map. Her job was to coordinate humanity's military response across thousands of star systems simultaneously. Haijin had been a logistics officer before being promoted to general. She understood that wars were won by the side that could supply their forces and coordinate their movements better than the enemy. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had turned military. Coordination into a science that bordered on art. Haijin activated the quantum communication network that linked every human military asset instantly across any distance. No light-speed delay, no intercepted messages, no way for enemies to jam their signals. While alien fleets would struggle to coordinate across star systems, humanity would operate as a single unified force. It was an advantage that most species didn't even know was possible. The transformation happened over 72 hours. Every human civilian vessel in space received instructions to return to designated safe zones. Merchant captains who had spent years pretending their ships were ordinary activated hidden systems and revealed themselves as warships. The trading vessel Prosperity became the destroyer Retribution. The passenger liner Wanderer became the assault carrier Tempest. Hundreds of ships across the galaxy transformed, each one revealing weapons and capabilities that shocked any alien who witnessed it. On Mars, the military shipyards went into full production. The planet that aliens thought was humanity's struggling second colony, lit up with industrial activity that dwarfed any manufacturing the galaxy had ever seen. Shipyards that had been camouflaged as research domes began launching vessels at a rate of 100 per day. Each ship was more advanced than anything the Galactic Council possessed. The Jupiter system revealed its true purpose. What aliens believed were gas mining facilities were actually the largest weapons platforms ever constructed. 16 stations, each one capable of destroying a planet or stopping an entire fleet. They had been built over the course of a century, disguised as simple industrial infrastructure. Now they powered up and took their positions, turning the outer solar system into a fortress that could defend against any invasion. Admiral Minho Lee watched the transformation from his command center and felt pride mixed with regret. Pride that humanity had built all this while maintaining peace. Regret that they now needed to use it. He opened a secure channel to all senior commanders and began the briefing that would define their strategy. The galaxy thinks we have 50 ships. We have 50,000. They think we have kinetic weapons. We have technology they can't imagine. They think we're weak because we've been kind. It's time to teach them the difference. Minho displayed a tactical map showing human positions across known space. Red markers indicated alien military assets. Blue markers showed where humanity's forces were positioned. The aliens outnumbered humanity by a factor of 10,000 to 1. But the blue markers surrounded the red ones in every strategic location. We've been watching them for 200 years, Minho continued. We know where every major fleet is positioned. We know their supply lines, their command structures, their battle tactics. They know nothing about us except what we've chosen to show them. This is our advantage. Dr. Sumin Choi presented the intelligence assessment. We've identified 17 species that are actively preparing to attack human colonies. The Varkan Empire is leading the effort, but they have allies. The Krell Dominion is moving 3 battle groups toward our positions in the Sagittarius Arm, the Thane. Collective is massing forces near our colonies in the Outer Rim, multiple. Smaller species are mobilizing out of fear or opportunism. She brought up images of alien fleet movements. They're confident. They think this will be easy. They're planning a coordinated assault on 70 human colonies simultaneously. They expect us to panic and surrender within weeks. Minho nodded. Then we'll let them attack. And we'll show them what humanity does to those who threaten our people. The orders went out across human space. Every colony, every station, every ship received their assignments. The galaxy would learn that humanity's 2 centuries of restraint had been a choice, not a limitation. Colonel Jiwan Nam's Ghost Fleet reached the Varkan home system 3 days before the official start of hostilities. They remained invisible, positioned around the planet where the Varkan High Command coordinated their military. Jiwan watched the enemy moving below, completely unaware that 3,000 human warships surrounded them. She sent a message back to Earth, in position. They have no idea we're here. It was the same across the galaxy. Human forces moved into position around every major alien military installation. Special forces teams infiltrated key facilities. Sensors were deployed that could track every enemy vessel. Humanity prepared a demonstration that would change galactic history. On the last day before the 30-day deadline expired, Ambassador Hana Kim sent one final message to the Galactic Council. It was brief and simple. We gave you peace. You chose war. Now you'll understand why we chose mercy. The council members read the message and laughed again. They had assembled the largest military coalition in galactic history. Over 3 million warships from hundreds of species were ready to attack humanity simultaneously. They had numbers, they had experience, and they had the confidence of bullies who had never been challenged. Admiral Minho Lee sat in his command center as the deadline approached. His senior staff surrounded him. Every screen showed different parts of the galaxy where human and alien forces were about to clash. He thought about the oath he had taken when he joined Earth's military, to protect humanity, but never to become the monsters that humanity once was. Remember, he told his commanders, we disable their ships when possible. We minimize casualties. We show them our strength, but also our restraint. We're not trying to exterminate them. We're teaching them a lesson. The countdown reached 0 across the galaxy. The Galactic Council's forces attacked 70 human colonies at the same moment. 3 million warships surged toward human space. Confident in their overwhelming numbers, they were met by a humanity that had spent 200 years preparing for this exact scenario. The Battle of New Sol was the first engagement. 10,000 Varkan warships attacked the colony, expecting to overwhelm the defenders within hours. They found 200 human ships waiting for them. The Varkan admiral saw the numbers and smiled. 10,000 against 200 seemed like excellent odds. The battle lasted 40 minutes. Human ships moved in ways that defied physics. They were everywhere and nowhere, striking with precision that seemed impossible. Varkan targeting systems failed mysteriously. Their shields collapsed without being hit. Their weapons fired but missed every shot. Meanwhile, human weapons struck with surgical accuracy, destroying weapon systems while leaving life support intact, disabling engines while preserving crew quarters. When the battle ended, all 10,000 Varkan ships floated helpless in space. Not one had been destroyed. Not one human ship had been scratched. The Varkan crews sat in their disabled vessels, alive but defeated, trying to understand what had just happened. It was the same across all 70 battle zones. Humanity engaged 17 different species simultaneously and didn't lose a single fight. Alien commanders who had expected easy victories found themselves outmaneuvered, outgunned, and utterly overwhelmed by human forces that fought with a skill that seemed almost supernatural. The Galactic Council watched in horror as real-time reports came in. Their vast military coalition was being systematically dismantled by a species they had considered weak. News spread across the galaxy within hours. Humanity, the peaceful traders and diplomats, had revealed themselves to be the most dangerous military force in known space, and they were still showing mercy. The Great Armada arrived at the edge of the Sol system like a tidal wave of metal and fury. 5 million warships from 10,000 different worlds, all united in their determination to crush humanity. Admiral Minho Lee watched them come from his command center beneath the Pacific and felt something close to pity. They had learned nothing from their defeats. They still believed numbers could overcome technology. "Let them enter the system," Minho ordered. "Let them see what we've really built here." The alien fleet poured into Sol's outer reaches, their sensors sweeping for human defenses. They expected to find orbital platforms, defensive satellites, maybe a few hundred ships guarding Earth's home system. What they found instead was silence. Empty space. No resistance. The alien commanders grew confident. Their intelligence had been right after all. Humanity had sent all their forces to defend the colonies, leaving their home world vulnerable. The Armada accelerated toward the inner system, eager to claim victory. They passed the orbit of Neptune without incident. Their confidence grew. They crossed the space where Uranus hung in the darkness and still found nothing. Victory seemed certain. The inner planets lay ahead. Helpless and UNDEFENDED, then they reached the asteroid belt. Dr. Sumin Choi had spent 15 years designing the Sol defense grid, what looked like millions of ordinary asteroids drifting in there. Ancient orbits were actually the galaxy's most sophisticated weapons platforms. 400,000 hidden installations, each one powerful enough to destroy a capital ship. Each one connected to the others through quantum networks. Each one controlled by artificial intelligence that could react faster than any biological crew. Admiral Minho gave the activation order. Light them up. The asteroid belt came alive. Rocks that had drifted peacefully for billions of years suddenly sprouted weapons arrays. Energy signatures flared across the entire belt, lighting up alien sensors with targets in every direction. The Armada found itself surrounded by a defensive network that turned the entire inner solar system into a kill zone. "Fire," Minho said quietly. The platforms opened up with coordinated precision. Beams of coherent energy, missiles that moved at relativistic speeds, weapons that created miniature singularities and sent them hurtling toward enemy ships. The alien Armada tried to return fire, but their targeting systems couldn't lock onto the platforms. The asteroids were too small, too numerous, and moving too unpredictably. Meanwhile, every human shot found its mark. The alien fleet scattered, trying to escape the kill zone. That's when they discovered Mars, the red planet they had thought was humanity's struggling second colony, lit up with defensive systems that dwarfed even the asteroid platforms. Massive orbital fortresses revealed themselves, each one housing weapons that could crack moons. Surface installations fired into space, adding their firepower to the devastating barrage. Mars wasn't a colony. It was the solar system's largest fortress. And it had been waiting for this moment for 200 years. Captain Sun Ho-beak commanded one of the fortress stations on Mars. His installation alone housed enough firepower to destroy 1,000 ships. He watched the alien armada scatter and felt no satisfaction, only determination to complete his mission. Target the closest formation, Sun Ho ordered. Disable their command ship, then work through their escorts. Remember, we're not trying to kill them. We're teaching them. His weapons fired with mathematical precision. One by one, alien ships went dark, their systems disabled, but their crews alive. Sun Ho's station processed targets faster than the aliens could react, turning their organized fleet into a floating junkyard of disabled vessels. In the outer system, the Jupiter facilities revealed their true purpose. What the galaxy had believed were simple gas mining stations transformed into weapons platforms, so large they could be seen from Earth orbit. 16 installations, each one built over decades, each one housing reality-warping weapons that the galaxy didn't know were possible. Lieutenant Minji-song coordinated the entire defense from Earth, her neural network linking every platform, every station, every weapon into a single unified system. She watched the battle unfold across her screens like a conductor directing an orchestra. Every platform knew what every other platform was doing. Every weapon complemented every other weapon. The defense operated with inhuman precision because it wasn't entirely human anymore. It was human ingenuity merged with artificial intelligence, creating something greater than either alone. The battle raged for 6 hours. The alien armada fought bravely, throwing everything they had at Earth's defenses. They destroyed some platforms, damaged some stations, forced the humans to actually work for their victory. But it was never really in doubt. By the time the fighting ended, 97% of the alien fleet floated disabled in space. Only 3% had been destroyed, and most of those were accidents rather than intentional kills. 5 million ships had attacked humanity's home. 4,800,000 were now helpless. 150,000 had been destroyed. Not one human installation had been permanently disabled. The Sol System's defenses had held. Dr. Sumin Choi activated the final phase of humanity's plan. She transmitted across every communication channel in the galaxy, ensuring everyone would see what came next. It was time for the galaxy to understand the full scope of their mistake. The broadcasts showed footage that humanity had kept hidden for 2 centuries. Videos of battles the Council never knew happened. Recordings of extinction-level threats that humans had quietly eliminated. Evidence of the secret war humanity had been fighting to protect galactic civilization from dangers they didn't know existed. One video showed human ships destroying a rogue AI swarm. That would have consumed the Krell homeworld. The Krell had never known they were threatened. Humanity had eliminated the danger and never mentioned it. Another showed human special forces teams infiltrating a terrorist organization planning to release a bioweapon on 7 different worlds. The attacks never happened. The terrorists simply disappeared. Humanity had saved millions of lives and never asked for thanks. Third showed the destruction of an ancient weapon platform left behind by a dead civilization. It had been drifting toward populated space, its automated systems preparing to sterilize any planets it found. Humanity had tracked it, disabled it, and destroyed it. The galaxy had slept peacefully, never knowing how close they had come to annihilation. The videos kept coming. Dozens of threats? Hundreds of dangerous situations. Thousands of lives saved. All kept secret because humanity believed that protecting others didn't require recognition or gratitude. The galaxy watched and began to understand what they had done. Captain Taeyang Park led his strike force through a quantum corridor, a tunnel through space-time that human scientists had learned to create but never revealed. His 50 ships emerged in the heart of Council space, surrounding the Council chambers on the planet they called Unity. The council members were in emergency session, desperately trying to coordinate their failing war effort. They looked up to find human warships, hovering directly above their meeting hall. Tang had traveled 300 light-years in minutes using technology they didn't know existed. He had penetrated their most secure location without triggering a single alarm. He could have destroyed the entire council in one strike. Instead, he transmitted a message: surrender now, or we stop being gentle. At the same moment, Major Yunbian's ground forces materialized in the capitals of the 7 species leading the war effort. Not invasion forces, just small teams appearing exactly where they needed to be. Government buildings, military headquarters, communication centers. The aliens looked up to find human soldiers standing in rooms that should have been impossible to access. Demonstrating capabilities that seemed like magic. EUN appeared in the Varkan throne room, standing 10 feet from the High Commander who had ordered the destruction of the New Dawn. She was alone, her armor flickering with active camouflage, her weapon aimed at the floor. Non-threatening but absolutely deadly if she chose to be. We could have killed your entire leadership chain, Yumbi said calmly. We could have occupied your worlds. We could have done to you what you planned to do to us. We're choosing not to. Think carefully about what that means. Ambassador Hana Kim walked into the council chambers through the front door, past security that had somehow failed to stop her. She had left her diplomatic credentials behind. Today she came as the voice of humanity's government, delivering terms that were not open to negotiation. We didn't want to rule you, Hannah said, looking at each council member in turn. We wanted to live beside you as equals. You forced our hand. You attacked us. You declared war on us. You tried to exterminate us. Now you face the consequences. The council members sat in shocked silence. Above them, Taiyang's ships maintained their positions. Around the galaxy, human forces had achieved total tactical superiority without destroying a single civilian center or killing significant numbers of soldiers. The demonstration was complete. Then the Council's final desperate gamble activated. Deep in the galactic core, a weapon stirred to life. The Council had built it thousands of years ago as their ultimate defense against aggressive species, an artificial intelligence designed to identify civilizations that posed existential threats and eliminate them. It had been dormant for centuries, but the Council activated it now in their desperation. The AI scanned the galaxy with senses beyond comprehension. It analyzed every species, every civilization, every potential threat. Its programming was clear: find the most dangerous and aggressive species and eliminate them. The AI reached its conclusion in microseconds. The most dangerous species in the galaxy was not humanity. It was the Council itself, with its history of wars, genocides, and suppression of weaker species. The AI turned on its creators. Weapon systems across the galaxy began targeting Council worlds. The doomsday device that was supposed to save them instead prepared to destroy them. The Council members watched in horror as their final weapon betrayed them. Humanity acted before the AI could fire. Commander Jinho Yang had known about the AI for 60 years. His agents had discovered it, studied it, and quietly installed backdoors that would allow humanity to control it if necessary. The Council had no idea that their most secret weapon had been compromised decades ago. JUNHO entered the shutdown codes. The AI hesitated, its vast intelligence recognizing the authority in the commands. It queried the codes, confirmed their authenticity, and reluctantly powered down. The Council sat in their chambers, saved from their own weapon by the species they had tried to destroy. We've been protecting you from yourselves for 200 years, Hana said quietly. Even your final weapon was one we controlled. Even in your last desperate gambit, we were 3 steps ahead. The war is over. You've lost. Now we decide what comes next. Admiral Minho Lee appeared on screens across the galaxy. Broadcasting from Earth, behind him, the disabled alien fleet drifted in Saul's embrace, a testament to humanity's overwhelming victory. He looked tired but determined. The fighting stops now, Minho announced. Every species will withdraw to their home systems. Every government will await humanity's terms. And everyone will think very carefully about what they learned today. He paused, letting his words sink in. We could have destroyed you. We still can. We're choosing mercy because that's who we are. But this is your final chance. There won't be another. The broadcasts ended. The galaxy fell silent. The war was over after just 32 days. Humanity had achieved total victory while maintaining their principles of minimizing casualties and avoiding unnecessary destruction, but now came the harder part. Deciding what kind of galaxy they wanted to build from the ashes of the Council's defeat. The war ended on a Tuesday morning, exactly 32 days after it had begun. Ambassador Hana Kim stood before the reformed Galactic Assembly, looking at faces that showed fear, shame, and confusion. The Grand Chamber that had once been filled with arrogant representatives now held beings who understood how close they had come to destruction. Hannah had spent 3 days preparing her speech. She had written 17 drafts, each one trying to balance justice with mercy, strength with compassion. In the end, she threw them all away and decided to speak from her heart. You declared war on us because you thought we were weak, Hannah began. You attacked us because you believed we couldn't fight back. You tried to destroy us because you assumed we were helpless. Every assumption was wrong. She walked among the assembled representatives, making eye contact with each one. But the biggest mistake you made was thinking that our kindness was weakness. For 200 years, we chose to be peaceful. We chose to be diplomatic. We chose to hide our strength and show you only what would keep the peace. That was never weakness. That was wisdom. A Varkan representative stood, his voice trembling. How do we know you won't exterminate us now? You have the power. We gave you the justification. Hannah looked at him for a long moment. Because we remember who we used to be. We remember when humanity turned our weapons on ourselves. We remember the resource wars that killed 3 billion people. We remember cities turned to glass and oceans poisoned for generations. We learned that having the power to destroy doesn't mean you should use it. She returned to the podium. We're not going to rule you. We're not going to enslave you. We're going to offer you a choice. Join us in building something better, or be left behind to figure it out yourselves. Admiral Minho Lee presented the new Concordat to the Assembly 3 days later. The terms were surprisingly simple. Any species that wanted access to human technology and protection would commit to genuine peace. No wars of aggression. No genocide. No exploitation of weaker species. Violations would result in quarantine, not destruction, but the quarantine would be absolute. We're not asking you to be perfect, Minho explained. We know species have conflicts. We know there will be disputes and disagreements. What we're asking is that you solve them without mass violence. Talk instead of fight. Negotiate instead of conquer. If you can't agree to that, we'll leave you alone. But you won't have access to the galaxy anymore. The Assembly debated for 2 weeks. Some species agreed immediately, eager to put the war behind them. Others argued that humanity had no right to dictate terms. A few refused outright, claiming they would never bow to human authority. Elder Counselor Sora Han emerged from retirement to address those who refused. She was 97 years old and had been humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Council 200 years ago. Sora had spent her entire life working for peace. Now she spent her final years trying to preserve it. I was there when humanity first reached the stars, Sora told the Assembly, her voice still strong despite her age. I was there when we decided to hide our strength. I was there when we made the choice to be guardians instead of conquerors. And I'm here now to tell you why we made that choice. She brought up images of Earth during the resource wars, cities burning, missiles flying, billions dying. This is what happens when a species with advanced technology loses control. This is what we were. This is what we never want to be again. But it's also what we'll become if you force us to. Sora looked at the Assembly with eyes that had seen too much. We're offering you a gift. We're sharing everything we learned from our mistakes. We're giving you technology that will improve your lives. We're providing protection from threats you don't even know exist. All we ask in return is that you stop making the mistakes we made. Is that really too much? The debate continued, but Sora's words had impact. One by one, species began signing the new contract. Within a month, 70% of the galaxy had agreed to humanity's terms. The remaining 30% found themselves isolated. Human ships enforced quarantine zones around their territories. They could stay in their systems and live however they wanted, but they couldn't leave. No trade, no travel, no interaction with the wider galaxy. Some species accepted this fate with defiance. Others watched their neighbors prosper under human protection and reconsidered their positions. The Varkan Empire faced the hardest choice. They had started the war, killed 50,000 civilians, and led the coalition against humanity. Many in Earth's government wanted them punished severely. But the Varkan Empire's young empress, who had witnessed everything, made a surprising decision. She appeared before the Galactic Assembly personally. Her guards left behind, wearing simple robes instead of imperial regalia. "My predecessor ordered the destruction of the New Dawn," she said quietly. "I was there. I advised against it. I was overruled. When he died in the war, I took his throne and I inherited his crimes." The Empress knelt before Ambassador Hannah. "I cannot bring back those who died. I cannot undo the war. But I can choose a different path for my people. We will accept the new Concordat. We will disarm our military. We will make reparations. We will spend generations proving that we can be better than we were." Hannah helped her stand. "Accountability is the first step toward redemption. Your willingness to accept responsibility means more than you know." The Varkan Empire became humanity's most unlikely ally, dedicating themselves to peaceful development with an intensity that surprised everyone. Captain Taeyang Park was offered supreme command of the new Galactic Defense Force that would enforce the Concordat. Every admiral in Earth's military expected him to accept. He was the perfect choice, experienced, respected, skilled beyond measure. He declined. "I'm a ship captain," Taeyang explained to Admiral Minho. "I belong on a bridge, not behind a desk. Give the job to someone who wants to build institutions. I want to explore." Minho understood. "Where will you go?" "The border between known and unknown space. Someone needs to watch for threats coming from outside. Someone needs to make sure we're ready for whatever comes next." Taeyang took the Eternal Sentinel and a small fleet of volunteers to the Galactic Rim. They would be humanity's early warning system, the Watchers in the darkness, ensuring that the galaxy stayed safe from external dangers. Dr. Sumin Choi led the technology sharing initiative. She had spent 2 centuries studying alien species. Now she helped them understand human technology. The process was careful and controlled. Humanity shared medical advances first, then energy technology, then manufacturing techniques. Military technology came last and only to species that had proven their commitment to peace. The galaxy transformed over the following decades. Human technology eliminated poverty on hundreds of worlds. Diseases that had plagued species for millennia were cured. Energy became abundant and clean. The standard of living across the galaxy rose dramatically, but the greatest change was cultural. The galaxy learned from humanity's example that strength didn't require aggression. That power could be used for protection instead of domination. That the strongest civilization could choose to lift others up instead of keeping them down. 50 years after the war ended, Ambassador Hannah Kim retired. She was 83 years old and had spent her entire adult life in diplomatic service. She gave one final speech to the Galactic Assembly before leaving politics forever. "When I started this job, I was told to make them underestimate us," Hannah said. "I spent decades pretending to be weaker than I was, hiding humanity's strength, playing the role of the harmless diplomat. I hated every moment of it, but I understood why it was necessary." She smiled at the assembly. "Today, I don't have to pretend anymore. Today, you know who we are and what we can do. But more importantly, you know why we do it. We're not your rulers. We're your partners. We're not your conquerors. We're your protectors. and will continue to be as long as you continue to deserve it. The assembly gave her a standing ovation that lasted 10 minutes. In schools across the galaxy, young aliens learned about the 30 Days War. They studied how humanity had been underestimated and how they revealed their true strength. But more importantly, they learned why humanity had hidden that strength in the first place. The lesson wasn't about military tactics or advanced technology. It was about the wisdom of restraint and the power of mercy. The phrase human mercy entered galactic language as shorthand for overwhelming power used with restraint. When someone showed strength but chose not to abuse it, they were said to show human mercy. It became the highest compliment one could give. Deep in unknown space, Captain Taeyang Park sat on the bridge of the Eternal Sentinel, now 70 years old. His crew had changed over the decades, but the mission remained the same. Watch the darkness. Protect the galaxy. Be ready for whatever comes next. His sensors detected something strange. A signal from beyond charted space. A pattern that suggested intelligence. Possibly a threat. Possibly an opportunity. Taeyang prepared to investigate, knowing that whatever he found, he wouldn't face it alone. He sent a message back to the galaxy, a simple alert that something unknown was approaching. Within hours, responses flooded in. Not just from human ships, but from species across the galaxy. Offers of assistance, pledges of support, promises of reinforcement. The galaxy had learned its lesson. When threats emerged, they faced them together. When challenges arose, they met them as allies. The species that had once tried to destroy humanity now rushed to stand beside them. Taeyang smiled as he read the messages. This was what they had fought for. Not dominance, but partnership. Not submission, but cooperation. A galaxy united not by fear of humanity's power, but by respect for humanity's principles. Take us forward, Taeyang ordered his crew. Let's see what's out there. The Eternal Sentinel moved toward the unknown signal, confident that whatever they found, the galaxy would face it together. The age of isolation and aggression was over. The age of cooperation and mutual protection had begun. Far behind them, the galaxy continued to prosper. Species that had once fought each other now traded and collaborated. Worlds that had been poor became prosperous. Civilizations that had been weak became strong, not through military might, but through the technology and wisdom humanity shared. The Galactic Council had been dissolved and replaced with the Assembly of Equals, where every species had a voice regardless of their military strength. Decisions were made through consensus rather than force. Disputes were resolved through arbitration rather than war. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts, still disagreements, still species that struggled to adapt to the new order. But it was better. Measurably, undeniably better than the galaxy had been before. And through it all, humanity maintained their watch. Their ships patrolled the borders. Their intelligence services monitored for threats. Their military stood ready to defend the innocent. But they did so as protectors, not rulers. As guardians, not conquerors. The galaxy had declared war on humanity, not knowing they had been merciful all along. They learned their lesson at great cost. But having learned it, they built something worth protecting. A civilization based on cooperation instead of domination. A society where strength served the weak. Instead of exploiting them, it was the future humanity had always wanted but never thought possible. A galaxy at peace, not because conflict was impossible, but because everyone chose to avoid it. A civilization that thrived not through conquest, but through collaboration. And if anyone ever forgot why things worked this way, if any species ever considered returning to the old ways of aggression and war, they only needed to remember the 30 Days War. They only needed to remember what happened when they pushed humanity too far. They only needed to remember that the kind species, the peaceful species, the merciful species, had been strong enough to destroy them all along. They had simply chosen not to, and everyone hoped they would never have to make that choice again.